Hi everyone, it's good to see you, and you don't have to turn on the camera. And hi also to the people who will watch the recording. Today we are here to have a look at the new client for information architecture, content structure, navigation, call it however you feel like it. We're gonna go through a presentation with Q&A at the end of each section of each new big topic that we introduce. And then we're gonna go through a quick design critique to see what you think, in the good and in the bad, about this new approach that the Planet 4 team is proposing. So without further ado, Magali.
All right. So yes, I'm really excited to present you this new proposal for the new information architecture today. So first, I would like to remind you a little bit of the methodology we used to end up with this new proposal based on design and data-driven informed decisions. So we did a lot of research. We mostly took a year to do everything. So we did quantitative research by identifying our audience and analyzing their behaviors. We also ran some user surveys on P4 websites. We also did qualitative research by assessing how users navigate and find information on P4 websites with a usability testing. We also did one-on-one interviews with P4 stakeholders, campaigners, and also engagement specialists. Last time, for the first session of this information architecture community call, we performed a card sorting exercise with some of you and with Greenpeace staff members, and also we did the same after with end users. And we also took a look at other non-P4 sites structures to see how they organize the content and what they do with their content in general. So all of these results and findings are accessible through this document. You can also read the global report that we did about the information architecture audit. And it's linked to this presentation as well. So now I would like to present to you the card sorting results because it's gonna be critical for the next steps of this information architecture. And actually this card sorting exercise helped us to see our internal staff, but also end participants and users classify information on the websites and how they group this information basically. So as mentioned, we performed this exercise with Greenpeace staff members. So we had 12 groups of participants with 4 to 6 people in each group, with P4 stakeholders, comms hubs, also the P4 team. And we did the same with external participants. So basically it was the same exercise with the same cards that we asked people that were recruited from the GPI Twitter channel or respondents from the global surveys to sort these cards into different groups. This way we could see what their mental models is to actually classify information. So this is the macro view of the most popular groups that came up from this card sorting exercise. And I'm gonna go through all the details now. So first we had the About Us cluster is the group where cards had the highest percentage placement, which means that the majority of participants, so the community and also end users, place these cards under this group name. So they mostly name it About Us or About Greenpeace. But yeah, no big surprises here. The other group is the Take Action one. Is the second cluster with the highest percentage placement. But there were some differences of placement with the cards. Like there are some slight differences between Greenpeace staff and external participants. And basically, we can see that a lot of subcategories for this group have been identified through what people did and named the group during the card sorting. So basically, we can see that people don't have the same way to classify information under this main big category. So for instance, we had take action with Greenpeace individually, for your community, for children, which is more of a social context. Then we had like people grouping this such information under like location or space. So basically locally, globally, online or offline. Some of them classified the cards under like topics such as sustainability, politics, activism, and some others classified the cards under like type of content or actions such as petitions or donations. So we can see that their mental models is not quite the same, but they still regroup like all of this information under a big category, which is like take action, get involved, etc. All things you can do. Also, a new group named Learn was clearly identified by participants in this exercise. So learn or active learning or knowledge, in which subcategories appeared as well, such as resources, quizzes, multimedia, education and schools, material, etc. So this group is quite new for the site content. We also had a group named News and Stories, and their participants clearly made a distinction between Greenpeace and environmental news in general, and personal and inspirational stories. So these were the most popular groups, and the least popular group is what we do / our work. And then we can see there that participants were very few to classify information by topics such as oceans, forests, food, etc. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't tackle this kind of information or classification in the site. So that's it for the card sorting exercise. If you want to take a look more in depth at like the results and the numbers, you can have access to the spreadsheet where there are like all the details about it. So now I would like to also remind you like the main users goals, because with this new information architecture, the idea is to meet these users goals in the end. So let's have a quick look at what users want to achieve in Plan for Sites. So we know that most of Plan for users have between 25 to 44 years old, and they are first-time visitors. Like there are about 76% of them are first visitors, and they are mostly visiting before on mobile devices, like 60% of them. And females are also the largest group from the Plan for Global Audience. So their main goals is basically to learn and consume information on the website, followed by ways to get involved. And the actions or engagement opportunities that showed most interest of our users were changing habits to live a more sustainable life and signing petitions to support a cause. Also, users often visit our sites looking for a trustful source of information, and they will later use it for research or schoolwork. They want to also get informed and raise awareness among them, the networks. So these are the primary goals that we identified from the global surveys run on Planet 4 sites. So now we can have a look at the site structure, the categories and the page types, and actually what the main problems are. So we know with all the data that we gather that, and also the interviews, the surveys, that we have like a confusing website structure. So basically the current website structure is like a web linked structure and is often the most difficult for users to understand, especially for first-time visitors that just want a basic understanding of a topic. This is also confusing because most of the time users don't know where they are on the website. Also, we know that we have like findability issues. So users from the global surveys responded that they couldn't find what they were looking for because they were not finding the right content on the pages or through the navigation. We know that there is a lack of specific content and information. And we know that users are also looking for ways to get involved and get more information about Greenpeace in general. Also, we know that some pages are too hidden in the information architecture or sometimes inexistent, such as about us or just victories, campaign updates or petitions, because it's quite difficult to see all petitions at once, for instance. Also, there is like no clear overview of the site content, so it makes it difficult for users to find what they are looking for. And given like many users' motivations, like there are no simple ways at the moment to meet their needs with the current site structure. There is no visible space for news and stories or to learn more about Greenpeace's goals and work, or to learn more about environmental issues in general. Also, as identified by like users' goals, a trustful source of information highlighted by with victories or scientific research or investigations is clearly missing in this structure. So we also have like all of the page types that we have like in the backend and in WordPress. So first we have like the main pages, which are Act and Explore. But these pages, even though they are accessible from the primary navigation menu, they are poorly visited. They have like less than 3% in all planned for sessions in total of visits. So these pages basically also like editorial content or easy ways to navigate in order for users to actually achieve their goals. Other like main pages from the structure are issues and tags. Again, they are barely visited, like less than 2% of them visit these pages. And actually, yeah, it's worth mentioning that the P4 taxonomy is built upon these page types, but it doesn't work as intended initially, as we can see from the data. We also have like post and take action pages, and these are the most visited pages on P4, but they are also the ones with the highest exit rates. And post pages at the moment have different post types, but they don't necessarily use WordPress categories as they should. We also have the campaign pages. What we call campaign pages is basically a space for campaigners to customize their own campaign page with like a specific design, branding, with a minimal navigation experience. But actually, they are not part of the information architecture. They have a separate navigation experience. And they are also barely visited, so less than 1% of visits in general. And finally, we have these evergreen pages, which have like unclear purposes. So basically, they should be used for institutional content such as privacy policy, copyright, etc. And actually, they should not require a specific page type, but use a default WordPress page type instead. So that's it for the like main problems in general. If you want to read more about like all of the details of these page types and everything, you can see that in the global audit that we did previously. So now it's time for like to present the new site structure recommendations. So the idea with this new structure will be to have an in-between between a hierarchical site structure and a web link site. So this will be like the new structure in order for users to meet their goal and yeah. So the idea will be to provide like clear main categories, easily accessible in order to meet users' needs and expectations. And these recommendations, of course, are not set in stone, but should be considered as a framework for the new site structure and content. So the idea will be to work closely with NROs to offer flexible enough framework according to their needs and content. So let's see now all the details. So yes, having like an about us section, I think that makes sense, given like what users want to achieve, but also currently we know that it's missing from the site structure. So we know that more than 15% of users want to learn more about Greenpeace. So yes, this should appear in the site structure and should be easily accessible by visitors. And these are just examples of content that we could find under this main category, but we could have like our history, mission and values, our victories, our financial selves, people who make Greenpeace, information about ships, and access to contact the office, and also annual reports. Another big main category could be homework. Again, the wording is not final, so this is something that we can change later on and do some testing on it. But about 42% of users want to learn more about environmental issues and are looking for a trustful source of information, right? Which is why it's important to have a space to explain the organization's main priorities and goals, and also the main topics Greenpeace is working on, such as oceans, forests, plastics, etc. And this page could also highlight the latest campaigns, meaning like the campaign project pages, also the campaign updates, so more news about like the campaigns and what's happening at the moment. The recent victories, as well as a space to present our scientific research and investigations. And currently this space is represented with Explore. But as we know, this category is confusing for users and lacks a lot of editorial content. Then we could have like a bigger category called What You Can Do. We know that more than 22% of users who responded to the global survey want to get involved in different activities, such as living more sustainably or signing petitions, joining a local group and attending a protest or an event. And a lot of them want to actively learn. And this is a content group that has also been identified from the consulting research. This is why we should have like a what you can do category that includes all of this, where users can find different sections, whether it's to take action by supporting a cause, attending an event, or acting daily. So we can provide like some tips to users to like live more sustainably. We could have a space for learn where we can find like quizzes or facts such as did you know, yeah, content like this. Also, all of the resources, the toolkits and the guides that we have that are not easily accessible at the moment because they are all spread out all over the place. And the same for videos. And ways to get involved is actually like more of a static approach, because we could just provide links to volunteer space, to start your campaign, to share your story. Also, for some of the NRO, they have like a lot of content about like education and tools to inspire the next generation and kids. We could have like a donate section where there are like more information of what you can do under donate, not just like make a donation, but also like fundraising. You can also manage your donation, etc. And a section to work with us and sail with us. So this will be more static because it will be always there. And the take action and the learn section will be more dynamic, of course, with like the latest content available there. Another big category could be news and stories. Again, about 42% of users want to learn more about environmental issues and are looking for news and scientific reports as a trustful source of information. We also identified from the card sorting that participants clearly made the distinction between news, so content written by Greenpeace, and personal stories could be also written by Greenpeace staff or volunteers, but also external people. And currently the distinction is not obvious. We could also have like new content types such as videos, check news and FAQ as a trustful source of info to fight against fake news, for instance. We could have like all latest actions around the world or investigations, ships news, and a press and media center. And finally, and obviously like the donate section, even though donate is not like a primary goal for users, like it's of course critical for the organization to have like a space to identify what you can do under donate. So we should have a clear access to all pages related to donations, whether it's make a donation, become a donor, leave a legacy, fundraise from Greenpeace, or manage supporters' donations. Okay, so this is basically like the new main categories that should be part of this new framework. But you might wonder, but this is a lot of content, so how we can do to deal with that content. So in order for this new structure and framework to be successful, ideally, we recommend that some main categories and sections of this new structure should be owned by different people and departments. So I think it will differ from one NRO to another, depending on the capacity, etc. But for instance, campaign project pages, which are currently the take action pages, should be owned by campaigners, digital campaigners, and engagement specialists. The new section or main category or work should be owned by the program department to explain like the organization's goals, the topics Greenpeace is working on, etc. Investigations content should be owned by the science unit and the investigation department, of course, etc., etc. And for this to be also successful, ideally, some NROs should be able to easily share their content for other NROs that don't have the capacity to produce a lot of content in-house. However, this NRO should also be able to translate this content for their audience. So for instance, latest actions or investigations or victories around the world, ships news or stories could be shared by GPI because GPI owns a lot of content. So yes, that will be the idea and the ideal situation. All right, so now let's see how we technically treat the categories. Since we have seen like what should be the main big categories of this new structure. So we know from also the data and the research that the P4 taxonomy is unclear at the moment. Users don't understand the system between tags and categories. And editors are also confused about how to use it to organize content throughout the site. And categories actually should be attached to posts rather than pages in WordPress. And I'm going to explain just now. So the P4 categories don't exactly behave like WordPress categories. In WordPress, categories are only associated with post types for admins and editors to group posts into different sections. This allows visitors to see all posts associated with a certain category. And such taxonomy approach has been created in WordPress to improve SEO ranking and findability. However, in P4, WordPress categories are only associated with the issue page type, which means that users have no way to find all posts related to a certain category as they get redirected to the issue page. So my recommendations will be for these categories that they should replace the current post types that we have. So stories, press releases, publications, and should be representing the new site structure with lots of content nested underneath, such as news, stories, campaigns, etc. We could also assign subcategories to WordPress categories if there is a lot of content granularity, such as news, then the subcategory could be oceans, forests, etc. Also, a post should only have one category and subcategory. So these are just, again, examples of what we could do with these new post categories. So for instance, for latest news, we could have subcategories such as victories, actions, investigations, ships, campaigns, or topics such as forest, climate, etc. Same for inspirational stories. We could have subcategories by topic, and so on and so forth. So actually, this could be represented by a breadcrumb to help contextualizing the categories and subcategories for posts. And when clicking on either category, users will land on the category page grouping all related posts, which is, again, not the case at the moment. Then we have the tags. So actually, tags are misused at the moment. P4 tags have issue pages as parents, but tags should not be hierarchical, but treated as standalone entities. They should only be, again, available in posts for users to see all related posts to a certain tag. And compared to the categories, which encapsulate a broader concept, tags should be strictly content specific. So for instance, hashtag shell, hashtag plastic ban, etc. And basically, we should use tags the same way social media do. That will be easier. And yeah, that will make more sense to have this approach. And actually, they could like appear at the bottom of a post page before the article's block. This is just a common web standard to have, like, you read an article and then you can find all tag related to this article. And if users click on one of the tag, they will land on a tag page, which is not the same that we currently have. But this page will group all posts related to that tag as well as other content type. And yeah, this should not be used for editorial content. All right, let's move on then to the new page types. And this will be like not a big change because actually the idea will be to keep like WordPress page and post types. That makes sense. But the idea will be to provide templates for these main pages in the backend. And each new main category should be treated as a parent page. So as for the issues and tags, the idea will be to actually get rid of the issue page type and its categories, since this page type doesn't really fulfill its goal or users' goals. So for that, we will have a space dedicated in the All Work main category to put their editorial content in there. And the tag page should be revisited, so treated as standalone entities with a parent page, and they shouldn't be used to present editorial content. As for the post, the idea will be to get rid of the post types, so stories, press releases, and publications, and assign more press categories instead to improve SEO and findability. For the campaigns, we have take action pages, so they should be renamed campaign project pages and be owned by campaigners actually. And the current campaigns page type should remain, but for landing pages or microsite projects that have separate goals than being part of the main site experience, such as coalition projects with other allies or yeah, other purposes like minimal navigation, etc. And finally, we should get rid of their evergreen page types and templates and just use a default page type for institutional content, because in the end, it's just a page, right? So simplify. Now let's talk about like user journeys and navigation. So we know that our main user journeys at the moment are like people, Gen Z or Gen Y, coming from organic search on desktop. Some of them, like 64% of them, land on post pages. They spend like 1 minute and then exit, most of them. Then 13% of them land on the home page. They spend like 4 minutes and they actually on, and the ones that land on the take action pages, yeah, they also, half of them also exit. The other main user journey is people who have like more than 24 years old. They're coming from social organic and ads on mobile. And again, about 60% of them land on post pages, but spend less than a minute on these pages, and 86% of them exit. 18% of them land on take action pages. And again, there is a high exit rate. And for those who land on the home page, so again, they spend more time there and they tend to visit other pages. So the main problem is that we have high exit rates on post and take action pages, which are the most visited pages. We have poor traffic on lots of pages, such as Add, Explore, Issues, Tags, etc. And as for the navigation problems, there is a low use of the navigation bar at the moment. So only 13% of the sessions are interacting with the navigation bar on desktop. And this is like 100% more than the mobile rates, probably due to the hidden navigation on mobile. And actually, users barely click on the navigation bar when they visit post and take action pages. Also, more entry points are missing. So some users interviewed would like to have like a navigation menu with more entry points, for instance, access to campaigns directly. Internal staff interviews say that some end users feel that a lot of information is missing from the primary menu. So a huge portion of the existing content is hidden. And also navigation standards are missing. So there is currently no easy way to see all content for a specific topic, such as oceans, or to see like just a content type, such as post or petitions, unless using the search and the filters. But we know that the search is not massively used, right? So also loading more content on the same page when there are different types of content is not optimal in terms of usability and navigation. So as for the recommendations for the new navigation system, yes, this will be like the primary navigation menu. So yes, we could add more items to the menu to meet these user goals. But actually, that doesn't mean that, yeah, we should move away from, again, the concept of the engagement platform. We could like place the what you can do maybe in the first position as mentioned, and do some tests about it. If you think that this is like, yeah, this is the most important entry point to highlight in the primary navigation. So what's missing currently is a drop-down menu. So again, we could have like just like the most important entry points for main pages of these new main categories. So these are just examples again. And this is not set in stone, so we can refine this later, but you just have the concept here. And on mobile, I would like to test like a new approach by having both like a burger menu, like classical burger menu, but the thing is that if we just only use that, that means that the navigation menu will still be hidden. So I would like to test like to have like the main categories directly visible and accessible all the time with a slider. And if people want to access like the pages and the subpages, they can open the burger menu. So this is something that we could A/B test, or we could like do a usability testing first, and then if it's successful, run an A/B test for that. That would be super interesting. And basically, yeah, if they open the menu, they can see like all the pages accessible directly. We could also have like more navigation options as secondary navigation, such as a sub-navigation menu when there are lots of content on a certain page. We could have filters in, again, main categories or pages where they have a lot of content to be displayed, especially like dynamic content. So we could filter by topics, for instance, or by content type. So we can just display like all the petitions or all the toolkits at first, and users won't have to go through like each take action page to actually find a petition or a toolkit or another type of engagement opportunity. We could also have like section links. So actually people cannot like go to like certain pages to see all of the content at once. They have to load the content in the page, which is not ideal. And also, why not having like bottom page navigation to, again, help users find their ways on the website. And if they don't want to use the primary menu, when they reach like the bottom of the page, they can also have some links to drive them to other pages. So again, we could use breadcrumbs for the post categories and have tags at the bottom of the page. So this is mainly it for the navigation system. Of course, they are not like everything is not in there, because these are just like a sneak peek of what we could do with this new structure and with this new navigation system. So yes, I'm just gonna mention like the next step very quickly before we dive into the design critique. So today we are here to like present you this new proposal, and actually the next step will be to organize working groups to like map out NRO content and see how we can move forward with like this new structure and this new navigation. The other working group that we would like to have is a working group to define like the testing scenarios. So with either usability testing or an A/B testing. And then we will go to the implementation phase to define and strategize implementation with also a working group, map out technical implications, develop and implement, of course, this new information architecture, and offer some support to NROs to implement this, actually. Luca, would you like to say more about it, or should we?
No, not much. Just referring to what Stefan was also mentioning before, like the technical implications, whether this should be a script that does everything in the back, or should we just recreate the sites, make it with the new navigation and just change DNS at some point. This is to be determined and will be identified in working groups 3 and 4, which will happen around September. But then first, obviously, there will be a fairly intense amount of work over the next 3 months, June, July, and August. There will have to be basically the working groups that Mag will lead, that is mostly about identifying a cross-scenario content architecture that could serve as a solid base around this new navigation, and I propose a testing strategy. Then obviously group 3 and 4 will be a consequence of these two. If you want to raise your hand and you're interested in joining any of these groups, please, it's in the agenda anyway, the working groups, and the link is this one. But I'm muted. You should be seeing the agenda right now. Is it what's all right? Cool. So if you go here, I'm also gonna send you the link in the chat, which is this one. You will end up in something that is called an easy retro, or formerly fun retro, or whatever that is. And this is where we do the critique. Okay, I'm gonna put some very ugly music in a second. So what happens is that you have 4 columns that identify the sections that Magali presented to you, right? So you have the column about the main categories, so the new big categories we want to introduce. You have the column about the page types, getting rid of the evergreen, getting rid of the issue pages, have one page type, stuff like that. You have a column about the new taxonomy, so the new behavior of the tags, the new post types as categories, all these new ideas. And you have the column of the navigation wireframes. Okay, it would be interesting to see what you think. I mean, so the idea is for you to like either copy the heart eyes if you like something specific. Eventually, as you can see, yesterday there were many people in the course and they left already some comments. So if you love stuff, just hit like. You have, I think, 10 or 15 votes without logging in. If there's something else that you see missing, for example, go there and, for example, I report the comment of Svilena. I love the bottom page navigation, whatever that is, and just insert it there. It's great. So if you are not sure about something, please use the doubtful dude, the doubtful emoji. Then if you disagree about something, and please feel free to disagree, that's the right moment to do it. Use the face with the swearing face. And if you have an idea about something, use the little bulb, please. So what's going to happen is that we are going to go, and if you like about stuff, vote, because obviously you can even sort by votes or whatever it is, your preference. And yeah,